So, in our second week now of our theme, belonging, and if you remember last week with the homilies, we heard that we all belong in the arms of Jesus Christ. But that is not all there is for us, just for us to belong. We were sent out to invite others to be with us because they belong too. We all belong together. Now, in this week's gospel, we heard the story of the rich man, and we've probably heard the story a lot of times. Comes up to Jesus, asks him, "What do I need to do to inherit eternal life?" And the phrase that really hit me was Jesus looked at him and loved him. But the man was so preoccupied with all of his thoughts about all of his things, his land he owned, all that stuff, that he missed it. He missed that divine gaze of Jesus looking at him. I bet if he would have seen that gaze of Jesus, he would have done exactly what Jesus asked. But because he missed that gaze, he missed something else too. A chance for a relationship with Jesus. And he went away sad. So his preoccupation with all his stuff caused him to miss out on a lot. And that divine gaze. So I think one of the lessons for us today is we don't want to miss the divine gaze. So what does that look like, that divine gaze? A friend of ours, my wife and I, a neighbor actually, asked to come with my wife to Encounter here one time on a Friday night. Now, she's not Catholic, so my wife warned her, this is not Mass, and it's going to be a little different, but the woman didn't care. She was going through some really, really tough things with her husband and her family at the time and was looking for anything to help her. She was grasping. So she came. And I remember my wife and her sat like in the third row right here in the middle together. And when it came time to take Jesus off the altar and walk this way and process with him, taking him back to the chapel, I stopped right here. And she was sitting right here. And the look on her face as she looked up at Jesus, like a little girl asking her dad to just pick me up. I knew she was looking into the eyes of Jesus and he was looking into hers. The divine gaze. She didn't miss it. A friend of mine, who I met when I came here to Holy Redeemer, was an artist in his past years. Let that go because life just got in the way. I picked up his artwork again, and you can see some of it in my office if you go over there. And I was over his house one day looking at stuff that was in the process. He was in the process of painting, and something stopped me dead in my tracks. He had a soft outline of the face of Mary on this canvas, but the eyes were complete. The eyes stopped me. And he says, What's wrong? I'm like, those eyes. He says, yeah, I know, right? There's something about them. I'm like, yeah, what is it? She sees you. I'm like, she sees me. He says, yeah, when I do paintings of Jesus, of Mary, of a saint, I always do the eyes first. Because we see each other. There's a divine gaze. We communicate with one another. And before I know it, the work is done. The whole work is a prayer. The divine gaze. We don't want to miss the divine gaze. The other thing this man in our story missed was a chance for a relationship with Jesus. And we don't want to be so preoccupied with our wealth and our money and our status and our jobs and our school and our sports that we miss out on a chance to begin a new relationship or strengthen an existing relationship with one another. When I worked at General Motors, I had a cubicle, a box, and my computer faced the wall. And when I worked, I faced the wall. I didn't face the entrance. And people would always come and knock on my cube wall and want to ask a question or talk about something. And it would always frustrate me because it was always an interruption to me. So I remember talking about this to a manager of mine at one time, and she said, "You know what? Sometimes the interruption is the real work you need to do at that moment." Wow. The relationship was more important than the work on the computer. GM got that because if you work with people that you have a relationship with, you can accomplish just about anything, much more than you could ever do by yourself. So here at Holy Redeemer, we do all kinds of things, and sure, they help us with the divine gaze. There are chances for us to encounter Jesus, but just as important, there are opportunities for us to be together, to build relationships, to create new ones, to strengthen existing ones with one another. We do things like welcome retreats, like Alpha, like small groups. All these are opportunities for us to get together, to build relationships, to strengthen old ones. We do a thing here on Thursdays, lunch for the community. Many people come. Sure, they come for the food, but they've been coming for years, and the food's not that good. It's good if you help make it. It's wonderful, but they don't come just for that. There are a lot of relationships there that have been created over that time. So we don't really minister to them. We eat lunch with them. We build relationships. We strengthen the ones that exist. So these relationships we build are really, really, really important. Really important. And here's why. It is one of the things, if not the only thing, we take from this world to the next into eternal life. There's a prayer that Father says at funerals, and I usually say it at vigil services when I'm in the funeral home. And it goes something like this: "The ties of friendship and affection that knit us together as one in life do not unravel with death." Those relationships that we have that bring us together as one do not end when we die or when a loved one dies. They stay. They go with us. So it's kind of cool for me to think that that spot in my heart that belongs to my mom, who passed away 3 years ago, still belongs to her. It will always belong to her. But what's really cool is that spot in her heart that belongs to me, it still belongs to me. That relationship does not end. It goes with us. It went with her. And that's kind of cool to think. I was with my brother after my mom passed away in his basement, putting her belongings into a box. How she went from a house to an apartment, and when she died, everything she had left fit in one little box. How really none of that stuff, none of our wealth, none of our things, none of it goes with us, but the relationship does. So if you have the question that this young man had when he went up to Jesus, and what do I have to do to inherit eternal life? I would say this: shift your focus from any preoccupation with things with wealth, with status. Don't miss the divine gaze. Take every opportunity to just be in the presence of Jesus. Let him look at you. Look back at him. Let him love you. Don't miss the chance to create new or rekindle old relationships. Do those things together that we offer here. You know, we have a dinner auction coming up next weekend. What a great place to just get together, eat together, talk together. If you wanted to invite a friend to something at Holy Redeemer, what better place to invite them? We're just going to dinner. Come with us and have some fun. Do those things, because that's where we build those relationships. That's where we strengthen those relationships. Those relationships that we take with us when we leave this earth. Relationships are that important because we all belong together.